Hello and welcome to another video in the service and maintenance series for the EvolutionX pumps. Today we are going to work through the wet kit teardown and parts inspection or replacement as part of regular maintenance for this series of pumps. The tools required to perform this task include a socket driver, half-inch socket, half-inch wrench, a 35mm socket or a 6.1 3/8 inch wrench, a non-marring tool or vise, and a shop towel or other cleaning cloth. If the pump you'll be working on has been in contact with any hazardous materials or chemicals, be sure to wear proper PPE like nitrile gloves and eye protection. Remove the manifolds and one outer chamber section using the half-inch socket and half-inch wrench. Please note that a pipe wrench is not recommended to remove the hex bolt on the outer diaphragm plate. The best tool options are a 1 3/8 inch 6-point socket. With access to the inside of one inner chamber, remove the diaphragm assembly. The diaphragm assembly includes the outer diaphragm plate, diaphragm overlay if applicable, the diaphragm, and the inner diaphragm plate. Once removed, begin the process on the other chamber and diaphragm assembly. On the second side, you may remove the diaphragm assembly or diaphragm assembly connected to the rod. When removing the diaphragm assembly from the rod, we recommend using a vise with a set of aluminum soft jaws. This is to not scar or scratch the stainless diaphragm rod while removing the other diaphragm assembly. Any flaws, cracks, chips, or other scuff marks can cause the shaft to prematurely wear or damage the U-cup seals. Please use caution during this step. Once both diaphragm assemblies have been removed, look for cracks, wear, or chemical attacks on the diaphragms and rust deformities on the diaphragm rod. Also inspect both inner and outer diaphragm plates for cracks, pitting, or other damage. Inspect outer radius of both plates for any sharp edges. You can reestablish the outer radius using emery cloth, Scotch-Brite, or light sandpaper. This is to help prevent premature diaphragm failure. Clean or replace any or all parts as needed. Hold the inner diaphragm plate by the hex with a vise or similar non-marring tool. Lightly lubricate the inner or flat surfaces of both outer and inner diaphragm plates using a compatible lubricant. Note that when using PTFE overlay diaphragms, no lubricant is required and that water is recommended for EPDM diaphragms. Locate the air side on the diaphragm and assemble with that side facing the inner diaphragm plate. Push the threaded stud of the outer diaphragm plate through the center hole of the diaphragm and then thread it into the outer diaphragm plate center hole with the hex facing outward. The diaphragm should contact the flat surface of the inner diaphragm plate. Tighten the inner diaphragm plate to 320 inch-pounds using a 1 3/8 socket and torque wrench. Repeat these steps for the other diaphragm assembly. Thread one diaphragm assembly onto the diaphragm shaft, making sure the inner diaphragm plate is fully threaded onto the shaft. An easy way to verify this is that the shaft will bottom out on the flat surface with the hex of the inner diaphragm plate. Then, insert one bumper onto the shaft. Lightly lubricate the main shaft. Then install the diaphragm shaft assembly into the pump and secure it by installing the outer chamber on that side by tightening down the 8 socket cap bolts with a half-inch socket and wrench. On the other side of the pump, place a second bumper on the shaft and thread it into the remaining diaphragm assembly. Using a 1 3/8 6-point socket and torque wrench to tighten that assembly to 320 inch-pounds. For any pump with a PTFE diaphragm overlay, align the diaphragm through the bolt holes, always going forward past the recommended torque. Never reverse to align the holes. Next, install the second outer chamber to the pump using a half-inch socket and wrench to tighten the 8 socket cap bolts. Then use a half-inch socket and torque wrench to tighten all 16 cap bolts, 8 per outer chamber, to 150 inch-pounds and a star crossing pattern. Finally, replace the seats, seat seals, and balls and reassemble the manifolds. Using a 1/2-inch socket and torque wrench, tighten each of these bolts to 150 inch-pounds and a star crossing pattern. Your EvolutionX pump is now back in working order, having been properly serviced and is ready to get back to work. If you have any additional questions, please visit www.sandpiperpump.com. Thanks and have a great day.